Hey guys, so I just wanted to come here and share my actual birth story and answer a lot of questions that you guys have been asking me. So to kind of just give you like all of the deets on like how everything went down, I personally was like horrified by childbirth, labor, not having control, not knowing what to expect. Um, like I was a basket case over everything. And I've always kind of been afraid of it, but as things kind of got closer to the delivery date, I was just even worse. Like, and I don't know why, but like I was just so afraid of like my water breaking in public and like not really knowing like what to expect or how things would happen. So at 38 weeks and 3 days, it was after my 38-week OB appointment. And mind you too, like I had no Braxton Hicks contractions. I had no signs of actual labor. So like no mucus plug, no bloody show, no, like nothing. So I went to bed that night, and if you guys follow me, like that day, I was like, I am doing whatever I can to like get this baby out because I knew that my favorite doctor was going to be on call Thursday and Friday. So like in my mind, I'm like, that would just be one less thing that I have to be anxious about. So I'm just going to try to take things into my own hands and make things happen. Maybe it worked, but I ended up like doing a workout that day. I had pineapple, I was, walking and, doing, things in my closet with like bins and stuff with like spring clothing. But it was an uneventful day. No cramping, no nothing. Went to sleep, and at literally 4:20 I like felt a cramp that was a lot milder than a menstrual cramp, but it was enough to like kind of wake me up and make me be like, just because you don't really get cramps when you're pregnant. So I had this cramp, it went away, and then I was trying to like nod off, go back to sleep because I didn't think anything of it. And literally within minutes I had another one. So I was like, oh, like I'm a little crampy. And I did have my membrane stripped in the office. And I knew that with that happening, I could be crampy. So I didn't think anything of that either. So these cramps kept coming, like they were every 4 minutes. And I was like, this can't be contractions. Like that just makes no sense. But they kept happening. So after like the fourth one, I was like, maybe I should call the doctor. So I called, and I'm sure he heard it in my voice that I was just like, ugh. But he told me to come in. So we had everything like already packed and ready to go. Like all of the bags were already in the car. Like I had literally like the towels were in the car. Like everything was ready to go. So like by the time I called the doctor to the time that we got in the car was probably about 5-6 minutes. Like it really wasn't long at all. So I live about 20 minutes away from our hospital. And within like 5 minutes of the car ride, like I literally wanted to off myself. Like I've never experienced pain like that. And I've had, kidney stones, and I've heard that people are like, oh, like childbirth is like kidneys. It is not like kidney stones at all. But it was very painful, like to the point where I was like writhing in pain. Like I literally like was digging my hands into like it was really bad. And I had even thought like, God forbid my husband was at work or something like that and I went into labor, I could just drive myself to the hospital. Like I honestly don't even know that I would have been able to drive because I couldn't like focus. Like it was bad. So by the time I got to the hospital, anytime a contraction hit, which was like literally every 2 to 3 minutes, I was like keeling over like whatever desk I was at. It drove me nuts because of course, like we had to check into the ER because it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and the nurse or the person who was supposed to be taking me up to maternity had no idea how to get there. So I literally had to get there myself. And by the time I got there, like I almost felt like people were like first time babies don't just like fly out. And I knew that my mom had me very quickly. So that again was like another fear of mine. So I was like, you people don't understand, like this is like, I'm not even like kidding or exaggerating, like things are happening. So within, me getting checked in triage and whatnot, and them hooking me up to everything, I was 6 centimeters and like ready to go. So of course at that point, when the doc is like, oh, your contractions are like every 2 minutes apart, like, wow, like I didn't think that was going to happen. I was begging for anesthesia. It's like, get anesthesia here right now. And I went into childbirth with no plan. My plan was to survive, which sounds very dramatic and just unnecessary. But as a nurse and seeing like the worst of everything happen to people, I literally like just wanted to live through it. Like I was worried that I was going to have stroke or blood clot or like just all of the things that, you know, HELLP syndrome, all of that stuff had just kind of really freaked me out beyond belief. So my birth plan was to just survive. I wanted to just show up, be told what to do, listen, and just have all faith that they would just get the baby out and like not let me die. So begging for anesthesia, because I was just like, you know, I don't want to sit there like that when there's drugs that can make this more comfortable. So I was like, bring on the epidural. And what sucked is I didn't realize that they actually had to draw your labs and have those resulted before they do the epidural. So it was kind of like, well, we're going to wait until your labs come back before we call anesthesia. And I was like call friggin' anesthesia like now. So by the time anesthesia came, it was probably 6 a.m. And the epidural wasn't that bad at all. And he was actually able to like drop it in super quickly in between contractions. So like I know that like you have to be like really still, and like I'm like, God forbid like a contraction hit. Like I was worried that like, you know, he was gonna like miss or do whatever, but it worked out perfectly. And by the time my epidural was in, I was 10 centimeters, 100% effaced, and just essentially waiting to push. So my OB had, you know, come on that morning, which was fantastic. And she actually had to break my water. My water never broke, which was awesome because I was so afraid of it breaking, like at Whole Foods. But, you know, when the epidural went in, I feel like it took a good 10 to 20 minutes for it to like really start working. And, you know, he was like, you know, do you feel tingling? And like, I really didn't. It kind of like, and I was able to like fully like move and do everything, but it felt like a very mild pins and needles type of a thing. And then they were repositioning me from side to side just because of, you know, Jack's heart rate and stuff during the contractions. But when they had me like positioned on one side, I can actually feel one side start to go numb a little bit more. And then like when they flipped me to the other side, like after like another contraction or two, I actually felt like the other side kind of go numb. And I still felt the contractions. And like, mind you, like, with the epidural, with the contractions, I was still like, you know, very much uncomfortable, very much feeling them all. To me, the epidural did not slow anything down whatsoever. And I remember like my doctor saying like, you know, when you feel like you really have to poop, like that's probably when you have to push. And I'm like, I feel like that now. Like I felt like that, like ever since I got in the car. So with that being said, it really wasn't long before I started actually pushing. And, you know, it was really nice because, and I will say this just because, you know, depending on like who you are and, you know, the type of hospital that you're delivering in, I'm just clearing some stuff off of my screen. I had made it very, I had made a point that I didn't want anybody extra in my room. Granted, I delivered at the hospital that I work in, but I was like, no students. I don't want anybody observing. I don't want anybody in there that doesn't need to be in there. Like, I really want this to be a intimate experience with nobody that doesn't need to be there. And I feel like a lot of people don't really feel like they have that right to do that or say that, but you do. And it was nice because it was just my OB. I had a nurse on each side, my husband, and that was it. Like nobody else. At one point, like residents came in as my water was being broken, and I was just like, really, like, get out of my room, like get out. So that was really nice to just have it very small and intimate. I pushed for about an hour with each contraction, like as you do. And they were painful. I mean, it wasn't, and like, I don't even know how to describe it, but you feel pressure. It feels like you have to poop, which I probably did. I didn't ask. Somebody asked me that. I didn't really want to know because I'm like, I'm sure I did because I hadn't gone that morning, TMI, but who cares, you know? What was I going to say? But a lot of pressure. And like, as each contraction hit, it was such a surreal feeling because a lot of people told me that they felt nothing with their epidural. I actually felt him being like pushed down with each contraction, which was like, you feel like you have literally no control over your body whatsoever. Like things are happening and you're just like just in a different place. But I really felt him actually being pushed down with each contraction. And like, I could actually like, I would start to hear his heart rate descend a little bit with each contraction because he was getting squeezed. Crazy, very, very crazy. So yeah, lots of burning, lots of pressure, lots of feeling like you have to poop. My OB and 2 nurses were absolutely wonderful because I've never felt more like just helpless, vulnerable. I don't even know if I could do this. I don't know if I can keep doing this. Wanting to give up, but knowing that I couldn't, or like wanting to give up and not wanting to give up, if that makes sense. And they were just so positive and like literally were cheerleaders, like getting all excited. Like anytime like they saw something happen or, like they saw him coming out, like they were just extremely positive and awesome. And they really did make my experience better. They just made it a good experience, if that makes sense. And I feel like once the head was out, like there was no more pain or discomfort. Like it was just kind of like, she checked for the cord and then he just came out. And like, it was a weird feeling, but it was like such relief. The head was honestly the worst part. So after that, I feel like the placenta coming out, it just comes out. You don't really feel anything. I did tear a little bit. I know I got a few questions about that. She said it was like a grade 1 to 2, a stitch or 2. Like she really wasn't down there for that long. The stitches actually didn't hurt at all. They gave me like an extra spit of my epidural when they were like, doing whatever down there, but really wasn't that bad. And that was another giant fear of mine. But I feel like she was very active in like trying to prevent me from like ripping completely open. TMI. But yeah, so now I'm going to actually get to some of the questions that were on my Instagram, just because I feel like a lot of questions were just kind of like in general, like what was it like? And I will say, guys, knowing what I know now, having been through it, I wouldn't be as anxious, just because they got me through it. And granted, like I did have like a relatively seamless, uneventful labor. I personally, it was under 5 hours from first cramp at home to out. But I really didn't have time to like really get in my own head. Like things happen so fast. And maybe if things were a little slower, like I would have been fine too, because I would have had time to like process everything. Maybe not. I don't know. But it really wasn't that bad. And I tell you what, if I can choose between being pregnant for 30 days or delivering, I would pick my delivery over being pregnant for another month. Like I did not like being pregnant at all. I felt just beyond limited and just like imprisoned in a body that wasn't mine. But with that being said, I would do it all over again. And I actually look forward to doing it all again, because I feel like when you see the baby and you see what you created and you get that end result that like, that's why we do it, right? I know some women love being pregnant. That's definitely not me, but 2 years of infertility and then the 9 months being pregnant, like I did all of that for the baby. Like I didn't do that to be pregnant. So when people are like, enjoy pregnancy, like I want to like smack them across the face, because it's like, no, like I wanted the baby. I didn't want to be pregnant, Okay, so let's get to the questions. M. Del Rocchio. I should probably just not even say people's Instagram handles, because I'm going to like butcher the pronouncements of people's names, and that's just not going to be fun. Fear of natural childbirth, but most of it comes from not having a mom. How was your actual childbirth experience? So, I kind of like went over everything, but it was a lot better than I thought. And I really do feel like you have to be a special person to work in labor and delivery. Like you have to love your job. And I really do feel like those women do love their job, and they really are there to help you and help you get through everything. And I feel like my advice would just be to pick a group and a physician that really do love what they do. Like I switched OBs right before delivering, or right before I got pregnant, because even though I liked my previous OB, she spoke to me like a patient. I felt like she was very like by the book, and just flat. And not that I didn't want that. And I had, other reasons for choosing somebody else, but I just felt so comfortable with the group that I had picked that honestly, anybody that would have delivered me from that group, I would have been happy with. And they really did make the experience good for me. So but yeah, and I do think that if and when I'm blessed to be able to do this again, I probably would be a lot less anxious going into it, knowing what it's like. Although if 5 hours was my first, I'm going to be pretty damn afraid of what number two is going to be like. What was the most important thing that you brought to the hospital, or what were you missing? So I did a blog post on the things that I was bringing. And one of the things that I planned on bringing that I thought I had in my bag that I had not had was that nail Frida baby file. And I wanted to bring it. Like, I swear I thought it was in my bag. But he came out with like daggers, and like while trying to like, and like a lot of the nails were actually like broken. So like he literally had like these shard dagger fingernails that like I couldn't do anything about until like my husband went home. So I really do wish I had that. Yeah. Other than that, trying to think if there's anything that I wish I had. So here's the thing. A lot of people recommend bringing like a boppy pillow or a nursing pillow to the hospital. I was a little irked out by that just because I work in the hospital. I know how dirty and gross hospitals are, and I didn't want to bring something in that I couldn't necessarily like wash. So, I mean, if you're going to be breastfeeding, it would probably help you to have your nursing pillow with you so that the lactation consultants can help you with what you're going to be actually using at home. But, that still kind of like irks me out. But I really don't think I was missing anything. I didn't have time to really use much of anything. Like I know some people are like, bring a computer and magazines and a book. I'm like, no, like you're not going to have time to do any of that unless you're in labor for like a day and a half, which I guess is possible. Trying to think if there's anything else that like I'm happy that I had. I'm happy that I brought black pajamas. I'm happy that I had 2 nursing tanks. I had 2 nursing bras. Trying to think. Yeah, I'll have to like attach my blog post with like everything that I brought, but I was very happy with what I had in snacks and all that kind of stuff. How did you prepare to be a mom? Did you take did you take care of a breathing? Oh, okay. I'm just reading this wrong. So I talked about my experience in the hospital. What were the biggest things postpartum-wise people didn't tell you? So I didn't prepare to be a mom at all. I kind of assumed that I would just figure things out. And I'm the type of person that some of those classes about like childbirth and stuff probably would have made me more anxious. And I just figured like in terms of like taking care of a baby, I would just like figure that out. So in terms of taking care of him, easy. Like, I mean, not easy, but like everybody in your room is going to repeat the same stuff. So it's not like I need to take a class on like how to bathe a kid or burp a kid, you know? I did have like the what to expect when you're expecting like series for like maternity and the first year that I did kind of read through, but no classes for me. The one thing that I wish I did do was maybe take a breastfeeding class, because I feel like the problem, you basically deliver this kid, and like, for me anyway, I didn't see a lactation consultant until day 2, which sucks. And I'm actually really mad about that, because I really do feel like it impacted me beyond words in a very negative way. So, you know, you get these like I literally got handouts on breastfeeding when I was like 10 centimeters. I'm not reading that when I'm about to like push a baby out. And then once the baby's out, you're just like so overwhelmed with everything. My nurse was trying to help me with like, you know, latching. And like, mind you, I don't really know what a good latch looks like, or what it should feel like, or how long he should latch for, or what he should be like, or, you know, like nothing. And, you know, here I am thinking I'm doing whatever I'm supposed to, and everything that I was doing was like completely wrong. And then I had lactation consultants come in on day 2 who, you know, all they really did was like slam his face into my chest over and over again. And it was just very, very overwhelming. Like, he was crying. I had episodes where like I would just start sobbing for no friggin' reason. And you just feel like completely like confused and overwhelmed and stressed and not really knowing what you're doing, if you're doing it right, blah, 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 blah. And then apparently night 2 is supposedly really bad. They actually had a handout on how bad night 2 is that I didn't get until 6 a.m. on day 3. Like, it was literally an entire page on how shitty day 2 or night 2 is. And I didn't get that until afterwards. So having him screaming and crying and being completely inconsolable, it was really, really, really hard. So there was a big lack in education, in my opinion, as far as that concerns. And I, honestly, like, I wish like I had those handouts and like those things, prior to even going into labor. Like if maybe like, I don't even know if like your obstetrician can give you that stuff, but like if there was like a breastfeeding class, like I would have liked to have taken that just to see if it would have helped. But then like looking back in my book, a lot of that stuff I actually read kind of, and it just never sunk in. So yeah, so that's how I prepared, or lack thereof. So I feel like, what are the biggest things postpartum wise that people didn't tell you? So not really sure, but I feel like everybody warns you that breastfeeding is hard. So I thought, just because of what I heard, that, you would be sore, or maybe have, broken skin, or you would be tired, exhausted, sleepless, like all of those things. What I really didn't expect was the emotional state that I was in. And, I don't even know like how to describe it, but like you really don't, and I'm a very like tough skinned person, but you really don't know how you're going to be until you're actually there. And I, like how I said, like labor, it was kind of like you have no control over your body. I felt like afterwards I had no control over my mind in a way. Like I would just randomly like start crying if it was just sensitive very easily, if that makes sense. So yeah, so I feel like just be prepared to not be in control, be prepared to be overwhelmed, but know that you're going to get through it, and to just ask for help when you need it. And I think the best thing on earth that we did was restrict visitors completely. We only allowed our parents to come that one day. And we've only had them back once, after being home for a little over a week. And I tell you what, a lot of people are like, oh, well, like, I don't know how I'm going to explain that to my family. And it's like, you're your own boss. Like, why do you have to explain yourself to anyone? Like, you're literally pushing a child out of your vagina, or having a child cut out of you. I think you're well within your, I think you're well within reason to do what you want and say what you want and do things the way that you want to, in order to be sane. Because what you don't know, if you've never really been a patient, or if you've never delivered a child, is you're going to have people in your room all of the time, especially if you're in a teaching hospital, because you'll have, let's just say, your nurse come in to like give you meds. And then you're going to have the OB resident come in to just check your fundus. And then like 20 minutes later, your actual OB is going to come in and check you. And then you're going to have the pediatric intern come in and check your baby. And then, your baby's going to like be wet or shit. And then you're going to have to change your baby. And then all of a sudden the pediatric fellow is going to come in, undress your baby, do all this stuff, make him upset. And then you'll get him dressed, swaddled, whatever. And like, you're trying to learn how to swaddle and all that kind of stuff. And then the pediatric attending is going to come in, undress the baby, do all this stuff, piss your baby off. Then a nurse will come in, give you your Motrin, and then somebody else will come in and take your baby to go get circumcised or whatever. And then the housekeeper will come in, then they'll come take your food order. You'll fall asleep. And then, the tech will come in to do your vitals, and you literally want to off yourself because somebody is in your room all of the time. I actually had at 4:30 in the morning an anesthesiologist come in saying like, oh, I heard you wanted a blood patch. And I'm like, you're in the wrong room. Like, it was nonstop. And if you're learning how to breastfeed or trying to breastfeed, you don't need your family and like your in-laws and friends there. I mean, you just feel like crap, and these are moments that like you're never going to get to do again. So the few moments of being sane that you will have while you're in the hospital, you really want them to be important, and you don't want to be distracted by trying to like, let's just say, look nice to like have guests, or to, have your baby passed around when, if he's sleeping, you should probably be sleeping, So yeah, limit visitors if you can. Let's see. Birth story, done. If I made a postpartum plan, and if I was planning to use a belly band as part of the recovery. No, I had no postpartum plan whatsoever. If anything, my postpartum plan is just to follow doctor's orders, take it easy for 6 weeks. When I go back at week 6 and get cleared to work out and be a human again, I will start doing that and getting back into my lifestyle, which I'm not going to really talk about here. But as far as belly bands and support, nada. And I've been like really bad with being compliant with like the lotions that I was using. I was using bio oil and cocoa butter beforehand. And I haven't used anything since, just because I don't have time to remember. The only like postpartum like pieces that I have that I guess could be considered support wear are from Blanqui. And I love them. I got like the nursing maternity top and the postpartum leggings. They really do make you feel kind of like tucked in without really feeling tight or compressed. But I only have one of each. So, I mean, I've worn them maybe like 2 or 3 times since. But yeah, nothing. I'm just kind of wearing normal clothes, normal sweats, and just kind of walking around the house half naked most of the time. Chloe, I'm 17 weeks. I'm finally feeling well enough to work out again. So I want fitness tips and good protein drinks that you can take. I'd be super interested in a video about how birth went, epidural or not. Okay, so I covered most of that. As far as working out and fitness, I can't give advice, especially like in a public video that could be viewed by anyone, just because that's not really appropriate, I think. But I will say, like, most physicians are going to encourage you to be active, as long as there's, nothing contraindicating you to doing that. So I can't like tell one person like you should do this or you should do that. I was very, very, very active before. So in the beginning of pregnancy, I was able to stick with my fitness routines pretty much throughout the first trimester. Obviously things were different. Like I was the type of person that would wake up at 4:30 every morning and work out. And I had a lot of morning sickness, so I couldn't do that anymore. So I kind of just made things work for me. I worked around feeling like crap most of the time. And then as pregnancy progressed, I kind of did less and less. So like second trimester, instead of working out 6 days a week, I was like 4 or 5 days. And then it was 3 days. And then towards the end, I was really only working out like once or twice a week. And then the other days I was working on like a stability ball, doing like pelvic stretches, and things like that, just because I was so unbearably uncomfortable. So I would encourage you to be active if your doctor cleared you to. Do what you can, but be realistic. Don't push it. Like I see a lot of women like doing crazy things, like whether they're doing like a lot of jerky movements that really aren't good for your back, or a lot of, strenuous types of like stretches and things when like your ligaments are a lot softer because of the hormones. Like that's not really a smart idea either. And I've seen women doing like planks in their third trimester. And like, I don't know about you guys, but I really didn't want to get diastasis recti. So I avoided all of the things that you traditionally avoid. I didn't lift anything over 20 pounds, probably from second trimester on. And towards the end, I was just lifting like 5-pound weights, like hardly anything. I mean, the baby's enough, I really didn't jump a lot just because I didn't like how that made me feel. What was the other thing I was going to say? Yeah, I don't know. As far as, what was the other question that you had asked? And good protein drinks. So I am not a protein drink person. A lot of you guys know that I am a coach through Beachbody. So I've been drinking Shakeology for the past 3 years. If that was something that you were interested in trying or learning about, I can certainly give anybody more information on that. But that was more of like a superfood nutritional smoothie that I personally used as a prenatal. It wasn't for protein reasons. It was just having good nutrition. So my doctor, both infertility, OB, and maternal fetal medicine, all said that I could substitute a prenatal with that. And I just took an extra folic acid supplement. So that's what I personally did. Not advising everyone to do that, obviously, but that's what I did. Oh, and then just going back to morning sickness and fitness, as much as it sucks and as hard as it is, try to do something and be active, because I felt like even if like I literally wanted to crawl up in a ball and vomit, if I went for a walk or if I started to move, like mentally, like I knew that blood was pulling away from my core and into my muscles, and like that would help relieve nausea, if that makes sense. Another thing that I would recommend for morning sickness, having a like really good snack in the middle of the night when you're getting up to pee, because to me that helps stabilize my blood sugar, and I was less likely to feel like crap when I woke up in the morning and have that like famished, sick kind of a feeling. So if I woke up at like 2 or 3, I would have like a smoothie or a bar or just something to kind of settle my stomach before I felt sick. And that definitely helped too. And then looking back on pregnancy and delivery, what's one or more things you wish you were prepared for, or even just more realistic about? Anything that caught you off guard? Breastfeeding. Oh my God. I know I've been talking about this on my IG stories like you wouldn't believe. And the thing is, I went into breastfeeding like, oh, I'll see if it works. If it doesn't, I'll be done. And then I realized like I really wanted to do it. And it's hard. It's really hard. And it's hard for so many reasons. It's easier for a lot of women. It's not easy for me. So I kind of wish that, well, I wish it wasn't as hard as it is, but I just wasn't prepared for how I was going to feel about that. So I definitely think being open-minded is the best. And then ultimately doing like what's best for you and your baby is important. Like, you know, you're going to read things like don't give a pacifier or like don't introduce a bottle or, you know, don't do this and don't do that. And it's all or nothing. And, you know, the one thing that I've learned from a lot of my friends and women who have, you know, been kind enough to reach out to me through Instagram is more or less do what's best for you and the baby. And, you know, it's not a one size fits all type of a thing. And then I just want to check my Facebook to see what questions were on there. And then I will wrap this up because it's probably really long by now. And I'm sure nobody wants to listen to me for a prolonged period of time. So Devin on Facebook had asked, what is my least favorite part of motherhood so far? What scares me the most? And what has happened so far that you least expected? So my least favorite part has been the times where I've like second guessed what I've been doing. Like, am I doing the right thing? Could I have done something different? Can I do something different? And just not knowing, or that like not having like the manual to kind of like tell you what to do. And that goes hand in hand with like a lot of like the breastfeeding stuff. It's just incredibly stressful. And very hard in a lot of different ways. So that would probably be my least favorite part so far. As far as what scares me the most, nothing scares me anymore. And I'm really happy to say that. I do have faith that everything is just going to kind of work its way out, even the breastfeeding stuff. And if I end up deciding not to continue to pursue it, then, you know, I'll know that I've given it a really good effort. And I'll just have to be okay with that, you know, but I'm not really scared of anything. And as much of a basket case as I was for, you know, labor and stuff, I'm really not anxious about taking care of him. And what has happened so far that you least expected? Just the breastfeeding stuff. Cause it's crazy. Brittany, should I be afraid of labor? No. And I kind of went over that. Childbirth books, nervous to push him out. Yeah. I mean, it's scary, girl. It's going to be scary until you do it. But I will say that it was calm and assuring, like you had asked. I'm trying to think. Let me scroll through these. Yeah. So that was it. Those were the questions. Sorry, this is long, guys, but thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any more questions, definitely leave a comment below and I'll answer them. You know, and I'd love to hear what your experiences were like too. So take care and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.